different at least. If my friend Barry can deliver from up here, and Mr. Arkell can also deliver a free speech, I do have a PowerPoint. But I'm also conscious that you are going to suffer death by PowerPoint today, which is the way we do our presentations these days. So what I'm going to do is ask my colleague Kun Bourbon to come up here and flick these screens, because as she does that, I'm going to be amongst you, I'm going to present from amongst you, but I'm also going to ask you some questions as we go. So that should help you be on attention and listen to what I'm saying. You know, Barry made a comment about Britain implementing seatbelt wearing. Well, I always thought that the real reason that they did that was because we had already done that in Australia. I might get dressed down for that. Now, the Transport Accident Commission is an agency, it's an insurance agency of the Victorian government. So with the next slide, you will see there that we have, next slide, you will see that we have a little picture of Australia, and the Victorian government is a little bit down in the bottom right-hand corner. It's a small part of Australia. It has only about 5 million people living there, but it is really the densest usage of motor vehicles anywhere in the world. We have more vehicles per head of population who drive faster and further than almost anywhere else. Melbourne is like car city. We have had over many years an appalling road crash problem. Now, just to pick up on something that the Minister mentioned before about long distance driving, last Saturday and Sunday, I, with one colleague, a friend of mine, drove from the centre of Australia, look at that map up there, yes, to Melbourne, almost 3,000 kilometres in 2 days. Now, we don't do that all the time, but in a country that big, Australians understand what long distance driving is all about. And around about every hour or so, there is a rest centre on the side of the road. Pull over, have a sleep, use the restrooms, whatever. This is the way in which we use our vehicles. We're very good at long distance travel. We have to be. So we'll move on quickly from that slide. This is a typical situation over the last 50 or 60 years of many countries and many jurisdictions. So we had a big problem in 1970. We were the worst in the world. Put your hand up if you're from Thailand, you're now the worst in the world. Where are you going to be in 40 or 50 years' time? Are you going to have a slide that looks like that? You can. And that's what Barry's talking about. You can if you wish. And that's the journey over the last 50 or 60 years to where we are in Victoria now. I'm going to tell you a little bit how we did that. But the TAC was born around about 1985. I'll come to that in a moment. Next slide, please. Now, what's our driving goal at the moment? It is towards zero. Think about that. If you're from Thailand, towards zero, you're running 26,000 a year. What's your 5-year vision? What's your 10-year vision? If you're going to be in road safety for the next 20 or 30 years, you need a vision of what can you believe you can help the country get to. Ours is now, we're heading towards zero. In Victoria, we've come from well over 1,800, 2,000 a year, down to maybe this year we can get below 200. We've got to take the community with us in that. So there's some of the things we do. We have the long-term vision, we have the evidence-based approach, and it's holistic. We measure, evaluate, and report. You've heard all of that before. Move, next please. Now you've seen these, you all know about Towards Zero, the UN Decade of Action, the pillars, the Thai road safety strategy is also based on it, as is the ASEAN region These are our guiding documents for anywhere in the world, the way in which we operate. Well, it is too in Victoria, so it doesn't matter whether you're the worst, or you're one of the best, or you're Sweden, or you're Great Britain, or America, or you're Ethiopia, or you're Libya. Those same basic pillars we use, and they apply to all of us. And the next slide, please. Hand up if you've never seen that before. Come on, hand up if you've never seen it before. Have a good little look at it. It's a triangle, it's a model. You've all seen it? I see a lot of people looking at this very harshly. You should glance at that and know exactly what it is. That is the model by which we run road safety these days scientifically wherever we can in any part of the world. It applies to the most advanced economies and to those low and middle income countries. It applies at the jurisdiction level, it applies at the community level. The same principles apply that are embedded in that model. That's where you need to be focused in terms of your work, individually, at a team level, at an agency level. It gladdens me a great deal when I look around this room and I see so many young people that are coming into and have an interest in transport and naturally road safety. You need to have a model like that which you can focus on. It was derived from much experience and research that was developed in the World Bank and is now included in all of the good practice manuals and documents and reference material you'll find anywhere in the world. We don't have time to go into it in great detail now. It is not the focus. We could spend at least a week on training work around that. But I urge you to absorb everything around that particular model and apply it in your work. Moving on, please. So in Victoria, that group of agencies, the TAC, the insurance company, Vic Roads, I know that Rural Roads is working with Vic Roads at the moment. That's a good thing. I used to work there myself. Victoria Police, Justice, Health and so on. This is our team. This is our team. This is how we work together. And I want to tell you a little more about that because this is something we have to get better at in Thailand. Moving on. And this is how we organise our structure. So we have a Minister for Road Safety. Really, I have to take my hat off to Barry's people because they were the first to have a Minister for Road Safety at the national level in England. And that's a way in which you get accountability and you get leadership. And it's a very good idea. So we have the executive level where we have the ministers meeting on a regular basis. They're not just talking about meeting, having chit-chat. I'm talking about they meet every 3 months and they go over the main issues. So can you imagine in Thailand that right now we've got a meeting in 3 months' time with all of the ministers listed up there and they're going to discuss this matter about the increased fines for people not being licensed or not having registered vehicles or whatever the issue is. You need to get a consensus going in your parliamentary area. So that's a part of the structure. And then we have the Road Safety Executive Group. In Thailand, that's your permanent secretaries. I know they move a lot, but they really need to increase their level of accountability and involvement directly in road safety performance in the country. And then you've got the Road Safety Executive Group who come to work every day, living and breathing road safety, and their job is accountable on the performance. You, buddy, if that road toll goes up, it's in your contract, and if it doesn't go down, you go out the door. That's the way it works. And it works for the police, it works for Vic Roads, and it works for TAC. Accountability for delivery of results and performance is very much part of road safety successful programs. But you need to get your mind around that. And then you've got the management group, they're operating at the day-to-day level. Next, please. Supported by a whole lot of committees and structures. In Victoria, and here's something to get your mind around. Remember? I said 5 million people. You just looked at a workforce of about 1,000 people in road safety. How many people in Thailand, 68 million people, are employed in road safety? What I'm saying to you is, that's what it takes to keep a lid on this issue. And if you do not, the people who pay the burden are the people who are part of your community and the health system. You pay one way or the other. You need to develop a professional workforce that is quite extensive. And that's what's underlying all of that in Victoria. Moving on, please. So how we do it, we have the vision and target, we have a simple strategy. As you do, the Minister alluded to it this morning, a plan to deliver legislative and regulatory adjustment. Well, we've seen that in the Bangkok Post coming out about the driver licensing situation. We need a clear road safety decision-making structure, strong coordinated decision-making, pooled funding. What's WAC? Well, this organisation called TAC send millions of dollars into the police and Vic Roads. It's not their money, they give it to them so they can deliver other programs. And then there's promotion, internal and to the public. They're just some of the things that you need to absorb in terms of their ideals of whether or not they're applicable to what could be done here. Next. And then there's capacity to lead, skill set to analyse, deliver recommendations and so on. I won't go into every particular slide because we don't have time and Dr. Whittail will come and get me. Next slide please. Now a little bit about the TAC. It's a Transport Accident Commission set up in 1985. It provides no-fault insurance to everyone on the road in Victoria. Doesn't matter if you're walking on the side of the road, doesn't matter if you're on a motorbike, you're on a push bike, you're a passenger in a vehicle, it doesn't matter if I'm in another state, I still get covered by TAC, no fault. Doesn't matter if I'm maimed for the rest of my life or disabled, I still get covered for the rest of my life. In 1986 it was broken. We had a development, a visionary leader, what you might call a provincial leader, we call them a state premier, who had the vision to establish the current situation. So let's move on. And in a nutshell, dealing by the money, this is what it looks like. TAC now has an income of about $1.8 billion, that's Australian dollars, they're not pounds. They pay out about $1.3 billion a year. That's to all the people that are injured each year and to the people that are injured maybe for 5 years or the rest of their life. It's a lot of money and it's about their quality of life and return to a normal life as best we can. They pay a lot of money, $262 million to Vic Roads and others for infrastructure. And then they have other prevention, marketing and education advertisements. I'm sure you've seen some of those over the years. And they are quite famous for some of the campaigns, hard-hitting campaigns, challenging people's drink driving and so on. There's some money for expenditure and administration. Some money goes to the government because after all it's a government insurance scheme and it's compulsory. And they have an investment portfolio around the world of 13 billion. So if the world stopped tomorrow, they have got enough money to pay everybody out for the rest of their life. Now, the secret behind this, and for those of you that are thinking about how this funding model works, the success of this program has been about the social dividend. So when the road toll goes down, remember the first slide over the years going down? Premium status, and do we give the money back to the motorist? No. We use that money to reinvest in road safety. And by doing that, we continue to reduce the road toll and reduce the burden of the cost of the road crashes. And that is a very different model of funding road safety on a much, much larger scale than happens anywhere else. So there are some great learnings in that model, and particularly about the way in which TAC invests its money for a maximum return. Moving on. So TAC International was born. It was an unusual idea, unusual from the point of view that, well, the government said, you people should be going out and helping. Well, they weren't really at that point thinking that they should come and help. So anyway, here we are to help. And when we thought, well, who should we talk to? We thought, oh well, we'll ring Dr. Vitaya. He'll know what to do. And so, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, some of you in this room participated in a forum chaired by the Minister on how TAC International could help. And at the moment, we are working on some ideas that came out of that with a view to developing a memorandum of cooperation between the respective governments here. This is a great step forward if we can continue to develop it. Moving on. So there's different ideas. We can help with advisory support, capacity building, and the establishment of TAC International will be launched next Wednesday by the Victorian Government. Moving on again. The commitment is to the Asian region. So there are countries in Asia, other than Thailand of course, but we are beginning here in Thailand. We think that the Thai situation, as Barry has remarked before, is extremely serious, and we need to be helping here where the situation is perhaps at its most serious. So we have a lot of experience in effective partnership and development operation. They're not just a whole series of nice feely-weely words. They actually mean certain actions. Moving on again. And so TAC is focused on managing the overall crash risk on the road network. So you have a road insurance company doing that kind of thing. Some of these ideas are starting to take root more and more with the great work that RVP have done over many, many years. That can be expanded enormously, as Kun Nopadol knows who's with us today. Moving on. Road safety efforts usually focus on what can be done. I have never ever gone to a meeting in Thailand in the last 20 or 30 years, where people have not known what to do. The documents that are available, the knowledge that's available, all tell us what to do. It is the how that's difficult. And as we experienced when we had the round table only 2 or 3 weeks ago, it is the how we structure. It is the how we share funding. It is the how we do the political decision making that's giving us the most trouble in Thailand. So understanding the different approaches to how, and then being strong enough and confident enough to undertake the leadership in the how space that is so important. Moving on. So TAC and its international arm has a lot of experience in problem definition. Moving on again. And it can help countries like Thailand with expert advice and dialogue and all kinds of things in capacity building and training and information sharing and shadowing in the various agencies that we can work with over a period of time. Moving on again. So it can be done. Barry has outlined in the strongest ways that this vision you need, this commitment to the task over so many years, you can achieve wonderful things. I like to think that in Thailand that the 26,000 at the top of the chart, if you will, is the peak, and from here on we're actually going to pull it down like the graphic from Victoria shows. That is typically the way in which the road crash situation and the death toll situation outlines itself in most countries around the world. So we need to believe in that. And finally, I like this man, leadership and the importance of aspiration and vision. So when he was asked, how do you educate 10 million young children in urban slums? He replied, you must start by believing it can be done. So I take it back to yourself. It starts with you as an individual. You must believe what I've been talking about can be done. And TAC International is offering itself to be a partner with Thailand in helping that to be undertaken. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kun Bulban, for flicking through the slides.
Thank you very much, Rob, to tell us that we need to believe that we can now. The very difficult job. Rob tells us that we need to do systematically, right? We have to structure our system in place in order to tackle with the problem.